Hello. Thanks for joining us today. I'm Elizabeth, and we're here to discuss a subject that I discovered in Asia, in the Philippines. Had no idea there was any problem here in the state of Oregon. And I'm in Multnomah County, and I have with me Detective Bickford, and I thank you for joining me. What is human trafficking?
Well, human trafficking is modern-day slavery.
Okay.
It's kind of the best way to explain it. It's exploitation-based, so anybody that, whether you're from the United States or from outside the United States, if somebody is using you to make money and holding you against your will, anything like that, that would fall into the human trafficking category.
Okay, and what is it? I mean, it's not just prostitution.
Correct. Yes. There's also we have to kind of break it up a little bit when we're talking about trafficking. When we're talking about domestic trafficking here in the United States, most people are familiar with the children under the age of 18 involved in sex trafficking. Mm-hmm. If you're under 18, you're automatically a victim of human trafficking. If you have a pimp or if somebody's exploiting you for anything sexual. And that's it doesn't matter whether the child believes they're a victim or not. If they're in love with the pimp and think that everything's going really well, it doesn't matter. You know, if you're under 18, end of story. We do have sex trafficking and labor trafficking also internationally. Okay. So folks coming into the United States too that are exploited. A lot may be working, say, at a strip club or a nail salon. There could be labor trafficking problems there, along with sex trafficking also. So there's kind of a combination of both sometimes.
Nail salons.
Just as an example.
Oh, okay.
Just as an example, yes.
Okay.
And I want to make sure I should probably cover this. If we mention nail salons, if we mention barber shops, massage parlors, anything like that, I don't want people to get totally focused and think that every single one is bad, right. Including strip clubs. Not everybody is exploiting people, but those are some of the target businesses that we could, definitely discuss and definitely have some problems with.
I had no idea. I was thinking, just the children was what I was thinking. So how widespread is it?
Well, it's a multi-billion-dollar industry worldwide. As long as you can find victims, these traffickers are going to continue with this. We here in Oregon, we have diplomats, consulates that have trafficked their own people from their own country. There's doctors, dentists, very high-ranking people in society that are involved in this. And then we could have the farming communities here in Oregon, for example. Lots of farming communities, lots of agricultural business, always a place for trafficking victims to come and be taken advantage of. And of course, Portland does have a bit of a sex trafficking problem with children. We're not, by any stretch, I know there's been a lot of talk about Portland being the second worst city in the nation for sex trafficking children. That's not the case. There's a lot of cities that have a lot of problems. Portland does have a very open-minded way of looking at sex because we have a lot of sex businesses in the area. But if we have a couple hundred children that we are monitoring just in Portland, we do have a problem we need to really focus on.
And is it just Portland or throughout the state?
It's throughout the state, yes. I've talked to people in Bend. I've talked to people in Coos Bay. We have volunteers in both of those cities that are helping out. So, I definitely don't want to focus on one city either. The I-5 corridor is always a popular artery for this kind of business, along with I-84. And it's not only just the domestic trafficking, the traffickers, cartel, people like that are exploiting folks from other countries are also using these arteries as a way to get their victims to and from.
Oh my goodness.
Very busy.
So it is the whole state.
It is.
Okay. how are victims actually controlled?
Well, and I'll try to sum it up on both sides
Okay,
the best I
okay.
can. But a lot of it is, I mean, your three key elements of trafficking are force, fraud, and coercion.
Okay.
Force, of course, being if you're holding a gun to somebody's head or some form of that kind of force, you know, that's going to keep people in check. That's going to keep them, you know, under control.
Yes.
And they'll probably do what you ask them to do. The fraud, you know, promised one thing and then something else happens. You know, the good life or whatever you want to promise somebody. You know, you come to the United States to make more money and all that kind of stuff. You know, that's a big deal to a lot of people. And then, of course, the coercion, which we see a lot of with the children. I'll give you an example. A pimp will maybe target a young girl at a movie theater, for example,
Okay.
where a lot of children hang out. You know, it could be malls, movie theaters, skateboard parks, things like that. That pimp will target a young lady. You know, tell her nice things, how pretty you are, things like that, and then start moving towards the coercion part, maybe taking some provocative pictures of her, for example, and then say, you know what, if you don't do what I ask you to do, I'm going to put these pictures on the internet, I'm going to send them to your parents, I'll send them to your church, your school, things like that, and put this child in a terrible predicament where they will probably do what is asked. And just about every pimp that you'll talk to will say that once they get the child to do one sex job or whatever you would call it, you know, you have them from then on. You know, I own them now. And so that would be, you know, one of many ways to get these children to do it. So there's a lot of brainwashing. Once again, going back to domestic trafficking, the pimps have figured out that these young girls and boys make more money when they look healthy. So they try to stay away from alcohol, they try to stay away from the drugs and beating them, and they use the brainwashing as a way of keeping control.
And young people, middle school age, think nothing can ever happen to them.
Exactly. Exactly. That's going to be one of the big, I think, biggest steps for us is to get this kind of information into the schools. And not only talking to the children, but talking to the teachers, the counselors, the security, the parents, you know, the PTAs, whatever we can find. Everybody needs to know and understand this and know what the red flags are, know what to look for, and who to contact if they have, you know, a question or think that they have an actual case that needs to be looked into.
So what are some things we can actually look for?
Wow.
If we're
lots
just, you know, out there.
Yeah, lots of red flags. Domestically, for the children, when I've talked to a lot of the parents that have lost their kids into this type of world, a lot of it was the phantom boyfriend. The boyfriend that they knew existed but never saw. He never showed his face to the parents. If he pulled up in front of the house to pick up the child, he'd be honking the horn out on the street, and the child would run out, and they would take off. The change in the looks of the child, if they are losing weight or if they're wearing different clothing, sometimes more provocative clothing, a change in attitude. You know, school is no longer important anymore. Family is no longer important anymore. That is the pimp pulling the child away. If, for example, there's new jewelry, new cell phone, maybe more money, things like that, always something, especially if the child doesn't have a job. That's a big indicator too. So anything that you see that's pulling the child away from their normal life, there's a chance. It could be drugs, it could be other things too, but it's always something to look into. And if a parent sees that, not only should they call the police or call me, they should also notify the school, anywhere where this child might be, because, you know, runaway is the next step. Maybe run away for good and be with the pimp and take off and leave. Other indicators, say for the international side, these are folks that are scared of everything. These victims come in here, they're undocumented. They are told that if you get picked up by immigration, you'll be killed, you'll be raped, you'll disappear, all that kind of stuff. A lot of them don't make eye contact. They don't do any talking at all, and the trafficker will do most of the talking for them. So we always try to encourage people that, especially police, if they go out to a call, for example, and there's this person that is willing to come out and talk and be the interpreter or just be the spokesperson for the situation, that's the person we need to kind of watch out for and say, hey, you know what? Let me talk to the actual victim and see what we can do. Or we can find our own interpreter and do it ourselves, that kind of thing.
I never thought about the eye contact.
Big indicator.
Okay. That would be a big thing to look for.
Yeah. In a lot of countries, third world countries, eye contact is not a normal thing anyway.
That's true.
But most of the people I've talked to, even when they know that I'm there to help them, and we have an interpreter in the room and an immigration attorney, they know they're safe. They still won't make the eye contact. That's just something they're taught, that you don't want to engage with anybody and show that you may be a possible victim. Stay in the darkness, stay out of the way.
If someone does, well, you already mentioned it, just call the local police.
They could call the local police, they could call me. My cell phone is all over the world now. Unfortunately, it's always buzzing. That's a good thing, though, I'm kidding. My phone number is 503-793-9221. That's my cell phone. If there are any questions at all that anybody has with trafficking, or if they are interested in people coming out to talk about trafficking, I can help with that. There's also the national hotline, which is 1-888-373-7888.
Okay.
People can call that too if they have questions. You know, a lot of folks are worried about calling 911 and this kind of stuff because it's not just, blatantly obvious stuff. So they can call me anytime and I can help with that.
Okay, because we don't always know what to do and we're not always sure, is this really a problem or is it just some child deciding they're mad at their parents?
Exactly.
Or angry at the school.
And it's always something that we can look into, and we don't have to make a big deal and blow it all out of proportion. But still, we should look into it a little bit.
Look into it and find out. Okay. So that's one thing that we can do. Is there any other way that just regular people,
educate yourself.
Can we help?
Educate yourself on this. There's lots of information out there, but I always encourage people to go to the Polaris Project website.
Okay.
Polaris Project has everything you need, fact sheets on trafficking, information. They have people to contact. They help with anything trafficking. And a great website. People can call me if they need the website, or they can call the national hotline that I just gave, and they can also help with that too. I personally have an electronic fact sheet packet that I can send to people if they ever want one. So they can call and notify me, and I can send that out. And it's great information. It's kind of like a human trafficking 101 class is all it is. But it's great stuff, and it covers, like I said, everything to do with trafficking.
Well, and we need that. I think part of the problem is, like, I had no idea. Oregon, I mean, I've lived here almost all my life, except for my trips. And I've seen it, I saw it in Japan, not so much, but throughout the Philippines. But then to get home and realize, and also a lot of it's connected with the children, missing children.
Absolutely. Runaway homeless youth or at-risk youth. A big part of it too, absolutely. And luckily the folks that work directly with those children understand that and are, they're continuing to educate their people and stay up on that so they know what to look for, how to talk to the kids, how to get them out of the situation, that kind of thing. Okay.
Is any of it connected with the gang problems?
Quite a bit. Yeah, the gangs are starting to realize that if they're selling guns and drugs, once those are sold, they have to go and get more guns and drugs. You can reuse a person over and over again. So if they have a child, boy or girl, that they have coerced into trafficking or sex trafficking, they can reuse that child over and over again, make lots of money, and never have to find another one until maybe this one is caught, helped get out of the situation, killed, hurt, or whatever, or ages out, I guess. You know, if they're 18, sometimes these gang members will go back and try to find a younger child. Makes more money that way.
So a lot of the focus then is on younger children.
Correct. Yes, and you've heard a lot of, I'm sure everybody watching has heard a lot of stories about what's the average age, you know, what is the average that we're dealing with here in Portland. There's not a lot of information on that just yet. Have I heard of or read reports on a 9-year-old being involved? Absolutely. 12-year-olds, you know, 16. It does seem like a lot of the children are getting younger, you know, and that has a lot to do with the Johns, the ones that are paying for the sex. You know, it's more of a rush for them. The younger the child is, probably. So we still have 16, 17-year-olds that are trafficked also. So I never want to get anybody focused on certain numbers, and you know, the numbers that you do see, those aren't exact. You know, there's a lot of folks out there that are trying to get statistics and things like that, but we don't have a handle on that stuff just yet. So, you know, it takes a lot of work. Right now, you know, for a while there, we were trying to help the children and just get them out of the situation. Now we've expanded to catching the pimps and getting them put in prison. The next step would be catching the Johns, the ones paying for the sex, and putting them in prison. So it's a long process, but you know, it just takes a lot of time to get all this to work, all the machine to work correctly.
Is it just girls?
It's girls and boys. So we always want to. I always want to try to make people take the blinders off. You know, girls and boys involved in this that are exploited. Men, women, internationally. You know, children are always kind of falls into the victim category in this area, regardless if it's international or domestic. So we want to make sure we take the blinders off. Don't focus on 82nd as the only place where, you know, there's problems. These people are all over the place, and they're going to hide in plain sight. They're going to do their best to make money and stay hidden. So the more people educate themselves, the better, because law enforcement cannot do it on their own. I will tell every group I talk to. You know, we like to think that we could, but we just can't. And the more eyes and ears we have out there, the better.
Okay, so you're available.
Yes.
And are there also other volunteers that are available?
Yes, I have an oath team, Oregonians Against Trafficking Humans. It's a volunteer group of just wonderful people, and they help teach classes, they help with outreach and things like that. So if I can't do it on my own, of course, so I have this group. I have a couple of task forces that I direct that has a lot of law enforcement on it, federal, state, and local. So we're starting to expand as we go along here. I'm still working 7 days a week because I have to right now, but you know, I can balance that safely now and get the word out and continue with you know, the battle. Sooner or later, I'm going to have to back out of it and you know, get some rest. But I think once we get caught up and get everybody in the state, my goal is to get everybody in the state of Oregon on board with this and understand what it is and what to look for and who to contact if they think they have something.
So what are some of the stakeholders and supporters, and then how did this all begin, and how did you begin to get involved?
I began in 2007. That's when I took over the position. It was actually a grant that we received from the Bureau of Justice Assistance. Sorry, that was a tough one. Yeah, we've had a grant for quite a while on this. I took the position over, like I said, in 2007. I wasn't aware of the trafficking issue. I knew there was a little bit here and there, but I was not aware of the entire scope of what I was getting myself into. Once I started training myself, along with training the community, I found several stakeholders. For example, the biggest one, of course, is my Sheriff State, and he gave me a long leash and gave me room to learn about this kind of stuff, to train, and to kind of step outside of the norm of outreach and education and some of the law enforcement tactics I used. And once I started getting that info out, then Commissioner McKeel, Diane McKeel, she's a Multnomah County commissioner. She's the one that really shot us up almost a full decade with her work on domestic trafficking, child sex trafficking. She's just been amazing at her office, and then getting other people involved too. I can't give her enough credit for that. Along with that, I've been very lucky with the United States Attorney's Office. They've decided now to jump on board both internationally and domestically. They have 2 U.S. attorneys assigned for each task force, so that's been a real big step.
Yes.
And then Rod Underhill, our Multnomah County DA, has been nothing but support, along with Senator Ron Wyden. I always got to throw him in because he's taken this under his wing. And the part that really impressed me about Senator Wyden is that he made this a nonpartisan issue. He's brought everybody together, and that's, to me, is very impressive, but also to me shows the dedication and the fact that he really believes that this is a problem and wants to help with it. So the fact that we are where we are, I would put a lot of that on Sheriff Staten and Commissioner Diane McKeel. I'm just blessed to have that many people helping me. And the fact that you want to help out here too. There's a lot of great people out there that want to get involved. And I'm just, like I said, I'm just happy and blessed to be a part of it. I get to meet people from all over the world when I do meet victims.
Oh, yes.
It's very sad, but yet it's also very enlightening, because when you talk to them and go over all the things that happen to them, from beatings and burnings and starvation and just some horrible things, when you get done, they're thankful for the help and they stand up and give me a hug. And that's incredible to me. That just shows the spirit these people have. And anytime you get to help young children is always a good thing too. That's always a great feeling. And children, like I said earlier, are targeted victims. And we always need to keep an eye on that part of the world.
And knowledge is power.
Absolutely.
It didn't originate with me, but a lot of it is just understanding that it's a problem and learning that there are things that we can do.
Exactly. And it's a big problem. It's enormous. Like I said, it's worldwide, and that could be, that could scare a lot of people. That could be very intimidating. But I always try to have everybody come back to their own life, the people they know around them, and if you take the time to give, let people know about the issue, give them some of the information about it, you're helping each time, because somebody was going to take that and then talk to somebody else. And before you know it, you started a human trafficking education tree, and that's going to do nothing but good stuff for us.
Well, we'll just keep informing people and giving them information.
That's all I ask. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Well, we certainly appreciate all that you're doing.
Oh, well, thank you. My
and
pleasure.
all the time that, it takes a lot of time and a lot of energy. And if we can, hopefully we're going to be able to get the word out and get more people understanding what is, what really is happening, and that it's real. It's not just some myth from another country.
Exactly.
So I thank you.
My pleasure.
And we thank all of you for watching us today. And we will have all the information at the end of this program. So look for the credits, and always call if you suspect anything, or even if you're not sure. And if you want more information, contact the detective. And once again, thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
I appreciate it.